When it comes to YouTube, I don't know if there was more perfect of a channel than that of Unus Annus. Now, Unus Annus was never my favourite channel. I never let myself get that attached because I knew from the get-go that one day it would die. Leaving a legacy is tough though, and in real life, not many people do it. You likely won't, I likely won't, at least not for that long. It's likely that our children will remember us, hopefully our grandchildren too. Probably not our great-grandchildren though, and beyond that, it's unlikely. In a world where the internet and social media is becoming more of a second life to many, what does leaving a legacy mean in terms of content online? In this video, I'm going to explain the beauty of Unus Annus and the brilliance of the channel, who in my opinion might go down as one of the only YouTube channels to leave a legacy of only high quality content. Now, some might say that the genius of the channel was that it was gone before its time. Mark and Ethan knew that it would be beforehand, and it was a brilliant move on their part. If we look back at some of the most iconic figures in recent history, many of them died before their time. Amy Winehouse, Heath Ledger, Tupac, Kurt Cobain, James Dean, each etched into history as some of the most iconic stars and singers of all time. We never got to see Tupac get old. We never saw his 50th birthday. A lot of rappers from around his time, however, are starting to show a few wrinkles and eventually will simply be old. We never saw the deterioration of these people while they passed away, which is truly a tragedy. For those of us that are still alive, we always wonder what could have been. Amy Winehouse, for example, only made 2 albums while alive, and her name will go down in the history books. Imagine what she could have done with 10 or 20 more years. What songs we would have had. What role would Heath Ledger have taken on next? He passed away during the shooting of The Dark Knight, and again his role is considered one of the great film performances. Without even being the first film Joker, he's now the standard that future actors have to live up to if they want to deliver a good performance. And in my opinion, this has catapulted the Joker into the stratosphere of iconic film roles. The contention of the casting of the Joker is now up there with the casting of Doctor Who and James Bond. Everyone's always wondering who's going to be the next, who will take on this mantle, and in my opinion it's down to Heath Ledger for doing that. His legacy will always be with us. So why am I saying this? This is a video about Unus Annus, and that's what everyone's here to see. Well, that's the thing, and that's the brilliance of Unus Annus, that it knew just when to start and just when to stop, even if it was predetermined. As much as we might look back now and laugh at how The Simpsons has deteriorated in quality, imagine if they called it a day after season 8 or 9. The show would have been immortalised as the best animated show, hands down, without any arguments. The fact that they overstayed their welcome by 20 seasons can make people say, yeah, maybe peak Simpsons is the best Western animation has to offer, but the show is not consistent. The unfortunate truth is that most, if not all, YouTubers are destined for the same fate as The Simpsons, because we as humans just don't know when to stop. We're emotional, we're attached creatures that would prefer to carry on long after our best rather than ending things early. Think back to the earliest YouTube channels, Smosh, Fred, Ray William Johnson, Shane Dawson. Each of them, even within 15 years of their conception, are simply not what they once were. Smosh is in its autumn years, Fred is dead, Shane Dawson's cancelled, and Ray William Johnson is just weird. Of course, no one would expect these channels to last their creators' entire lives. No one could imagine Lucas Cruikshank being 47 years old and still playing the Fred character. A few years and 3 movies is enough. Either way, when I look back at the history of, say, Shane Dawson, perhaps he should have hung up his boots earlier rather than later. In fairness, he was on a second wind with his YouTube career when some things he said years earlier had caught up to him. I don't think there's any coming back for him, and so his legacy is a tainted tale of a troubled man whose past recklessness was his demise. YouTube audiences change. They grow up. Demographics and algorithms change. You can't be caught doing the same thing for too long, otherwise people get bored. I think that the generation of YouTubers that came slightly after the initial wave began to understand this. Obviously we have Markiplier, who's always doing ambitious projects. His Choose Your Own Adventure videos, as well as his murder mystery, haven't really been seen on YouTube before, and Unus Annus was so original. I think that this has been the key to his success and longevity. He's been around for ages. He's changed, innovated, explored and created. And it's not only him. PewDiePie, for example, while yes, he's still a gaming channel, he also has expanded into reaction videos and all kinds of interesting content. To quote Abed and Community, things have a structure to them. If we stray from them, we're weird. If we stick to them, we're boring. PewDiePie, just like Markiplier, has found the perfect balance of exploring different avenues, yet keeping the core that the channel was initially centered around. It's impossible to see what the future holds for Mark and Felix. Perhaps one day they will both decline. It is likely. However, when it comes back to Unus Annus, we won't ever see a decline because we won't see any more of them. In what can only be described as a horrible year, this channel came into our lives, with the catch being that one day it will be gone. Its philosophy was beautiful, and it was one of the most thought-provoking and genius ideas YouTube has had to offer thus far. From start to end, Unus Annus worked because Unus Annus would end. We knew this, and we could watch as much or as little as we wanted. And just like life, it moved fast, and if you didn't stop and appreciate it once in a while, you might have missed it. It's now cemented into the minds of each viewer. This channel's legacy will live and die with those who took the time to come along for the ride. If you're watching this video, you are probably an Unus Annus fan. But even if you aren't, you have to remember that one day, you will die. Memento Mori.